بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسول الله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Honorable brothers and sisters, dear children, this occasion marks a very major milestone, not just for this school, but for the entire Muslim community of this part of the world. Now, these milestones are realized after innumerable sacrifices and undescribable efforts, hardships, and those sacrifices involve wealth, they involve time, energy, but sometimes the most difficult sacrifices are the ones that involve our emotions. Giving up something that's important for something that you feel is more important. It's one of the most difficult things to do because you feel accountable for both. You feel accountable for that which is important, but you also feel accountable for that which is more important. And you're torn in between and you have to prioritize. And sometimes, in fact, often, the decision that's made to fulfill the more important priority, it comes with a lot of pushback from people. Sometimes it comes at the expense of disappointing some people. Sometimes it comes with the expense of needs remaining unfulfilled. And this brings to mind the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in which he asked the Sahaba, do you know who the first people to enter into Jannah will be? Sahaba said, Allah and His Rasul know best. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam told them, أول من يدخل الجنة من أمتي فقراء المهاجرين. The first people to enter Jannah from my ummah will be those poor people, people who had few resources, few means, but they left their homes for the sake of Allah. الذين تسد بهم الثغور وتتقى بهم المكاره. Whenever there is a need for deen, these people are used to sort of fill in the gaps and the holes. A need comes, they present themselves, then some other necessity arises and they present themselves, then some other necessity arises, they present themselves. There's a group of Muslims that are in discomfort, so these people will go to make sure they're in ease. Then somewhere else there will be another issue, these people will go and make sure that those people are comfortable. They're constantly running around. But what's happening during this process is some of their own personal goals and wishes are left unfulfilled. They spent their whole life fulfilling the requirements of of deen. And so some of their own personal goals were left behind. يموت أحدهم وحاجته في صدره لا يستطيع لها قضاء. Some of them leave this world in a state that their needs, their aspirations, their goals are still inside. They haven't had a chance to realize them. They never had a chance to fulfill those needs or those goals. Meanwhile, people around them were chasing after those goals and fulfilling those goals and meeting those targets. And this was happening in front of these people's eyes. And they could not help but think sometimes that what would life be like if we also gave time to just our own lives and our own goals. And then they went on again doing the work of deen. So on the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call His elite angels. And Allah will say, "Ituhum fahayyuhum." Go to them and say salam to them. The angels will say that, "Oh Allah, you want us to go and say salam to them even though we are your elite angels, your select angels?" So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will begin praising these people in front of the angels. He will say, "Yes, go and say salam to them, because they are those people who had few means and few resources." This is going to die also. But they continued sacrificing for deen, and they continued leaving out their own needs and wishes and goals. And they left the world in a state that many of their aspirations remained unfulfilled. So at that time, angels will start coming to them from every door of Jannah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this in the Quran, وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ يَدْخُلُونَ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ بَابٍ. And these angels will come to them and say, "Salam. Salamun alaykum bima sabartum fa ni'ma uqbad dar." Salam to you. We salute you, we greet you. Because of your perseverance, because of your patience, because of your tolerance in dunya, now you will remain in a state of eternal comfort. Never again will you have to be patient for anything. So my respected brothers and sisters, this deen that we got from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it came with sacrifice embedded in it. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam created a nation of people who were sacrificing alongside with him. When he left this world, sacrifice for deen did not die out, rather it increased. And it was with the same fervor and the same zeal and the same passion that people took the deen of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the corners of the world. And here we are in one of the corners of the world. We've brought this deen with us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the choice to preserve this deen in its pure and original form within us and within our coming progenies. It's a huge challenge. And it's not something that can be done with just some part-time work, with some part-time effort. No, there are going to have to be some lives that were sacrificed just for this purpose. And sometimes what happens is we sit around feeling sorry for ourselves. I missed out on this, I missed out on that. People are telling me to give more time to deen. What about this? What about that? That was not the mindset that Rasulullah ﷺ had, and that's not the mindset that he created in his ummah. The mindset he created in his ummah is that we are here to sacrifice for the deen of Allah. That's why we exist. That's why we live. That's why we breathe. That's why we sleep. That's why we eat. So we can get up and serve the deen of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in any capacity possible. And so no matter who you took from the ummah, everyone was ready to stand up for deen and do whatever was required. Rib'i ibn Amir radiallahu anhu was summoned in the court of Rustam, the great Persian general, and he came in as if he was a king himself. And he spoke very openly. He said, "Why have you come?" He said, "Allah has sent us. ابتعثنا الله لنخرج العباد من عبادة العباد إلى عبادة رب العباد." Allah has sent us, O Persians, to take people out of the slavery of slaves and put them into the slavery of the Lord of all slaves. وَمِن ضِيقِ الدُّنْيَا إِلَى سَعَتِهَا, and to take them out of this narrow life that they're living and show them a vast life. وَمِن جَوْرِ الْأَدْيَانِ إِلَى عَدْلِ الْإِسْلَامِ, from the oppression of other ways of life into the fairness and the justice and the beauty of Islam. That's why we are here. So when we reach these milestones, such as, mashallah, 10 years since the school was registered and commenced, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give it more progress and strength, and may Allah Azza wa Jal bless all of those who have worked in founding and establishing it, as well as those who have supported it morally or financially or in any ways possible. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our brother Fazil and sister Rahat for putting themselves to this task and staying the course and constantly being concerned about the growth and the progress of this school and the growth and progress of the community, the growth and progress of the students that come here. These are all, we should look at these extensions, these schools, these institutes as extensions of the centers of deen, extensions of what was happening in the masjid of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam at Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. These are all extensions of the same thing, because the message is the same, the deen is the same, the goals are the same. Now, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave his everything. He did not hold anything back. His companions also gave everything. They did not hold anything back. So today I need to ask myself, what's holding me back? What keeps me from giving 100% to the deen of Allah? What is it that holds me back from giving what is required when it is required, whether it's time, it's resources, energy? So 10 years of history are giving us 10 years of lessons of what to do for the next 10 years, or maybe the next 20 years, or maybe even the next 30 years. And we all have to be a part of the plan. We all have to be a part of the brain that thinks and plans how this is going to go forward.